Definitely.
Yeah. But the confidence that we're talking about is actually a real inside confidence. It's a true level of contentment and self-assurance. It's being so self-aware that, you know, we're sitting up here right now, we're not worried. The difference between an ego-boasted self-confidence, like fake it till you make it, versus the confidence of a self-love is what we're talking about. We could sit here and say, you know, I hope that everybody in this room likes us, but we know that everyone in this room will like us, but we don't think that. We just know we'll be okay if you don't. And it's that the quiet person, it's a quiet confidence, it's a subtle confidence. Often the people that are the loudest and most full on are not necessarily the most confident. I mean, Caroline and I, we can still be vivacious and outrageous and quietly confident.
Yeah.
But probably not the best examples of that.
Yeah, the confidence isn't about being showing off. It's about removing the ego and knowing that you're awesome just the way you are. And that's where the self-love techniques that I share with people, tips and techniques about, come into play. Self-love to me is a feeling of absolute inner acceptance of who you are right now, today, as you are, 100%. It has nothing to do with the way you look. Of course, ultimately, by finding that self-love at a core level, you would naturally accept your physical body so much more and more every day. And in turn, everybody around you will also accept you and your body and everything around you. No one else really cares what you look like. At the end of the day, they're more worried about themselves.
Yeah.
And yeah, self-love is that real belief that you are aware of yourself. You don't judge yourself. And in turn, you actually don't judge others either. The self-love is an ongoing practice. It's not something that you get to, oh, there I am, got self-love, tick that box.
Yeah,
it's actually a journey. So a month ago, I didn't have as much of a grounded space as the self-love I do today. 5 months ahead, I'll be in a better space, getting more goodness out of it. What you ultimately feel by practicing self-love is this feeling of inner peace and acceptance. You don't worry or care what other people do or say. And yeah, should I talk about some ways that we can do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so to find that self-love, we use techniques like meditation, which brings you into a stillness that allows you to hear and listen to your intuition more. Therefore, you're making better decisions that are right for you. It also gives you more energy and time, so you're not exhausted and not snapping. You're coming from a place of a grounded space. Meditation also increases what we call mirror neurons, which is how you relate to other people. And so, for example, as Caroline mentioned porn earlier, porn is a really good example of how watching other people have pleasure actually can give you pleasure as well. Not that we're necessarily big into porn, but it's a really extreme example. Like the same way that if I sit here and cut my hand with a knife, you would all go like that. That's motor neurons. If we can feel more empathy for others like this, we also have more connection with others. So meditation helps you find the stillness, helps you get more connection with others, reduces your stress levels. And as we know, stress, tiredness, probably the two key killers to sex and relationships these days.
Absolutely.
Journaling is another top tip from the self-love Fiona book. And that's where we can express our feelings and emotions onto paper. And ultimately what we do this is understand ourselves more, and we can, just self-awareness is a very key aspect to getting on better with other people and connecting, because you need to know how you're coming across to people and things like that.
Yeah.
There's getting in touch with nature is another awesome way to find self-love. Just that
it can restore the feminine as well.
Drawing in the negative ions from the earth and just chilling out. Basically chill out more when you self-love. It's really quite an awesome space to be in.
Yeah.
I used to be way more highly strung. I still have my moments. I'm a feisty, fiery person. I love life. I'm always on the go. But it's every day I have to tell myself to breathe. That's a purity. I mean, I could go on lots and lots. But
I just have one more tip for self-love. And I learned this in a book I read a little while ago, and I'm always telling my clients about it. And it's called Love Yourself as If Your Life Depends on It.
That's cool.
And it's written by this guy who basically found that he was completely depressed, his business was failing, he had a breakup, his best friend died, like his whole life was falling apart. He couldn't get out of bed. And he realized that he didn't love himself and that he was like giving love to everyone else, but he just wasn't giving that goodness to himself, and therefore he just felt like crap constantly. So he just started this practice of self-love, and all he did was every day he would kind of do a little meditation. He'd put his hand on his heart and he'd say, I love myself. And he would just repeat it over and over, and he would go through the day. And, you know, 95% of our thoughts every single day are negative. I mean, it is insane how high the number is, and we think about the same stuff every single day. So we just have this record in our head, or this radio station tuned to I suck, and everything's going to turn to crap. And we need to reprogram that and start playing a different station. And that's just a good place to start.
It is, because quite often we speak to ourselves like we would never speak to anybody else.
No, absolutely not. And I think that when you don't love yourself and you're not confident and you're bringing that kind of masculine dynamic into your relationship, you're not having great sex. And so...
Well, if you can't be loved or receive love any more than you love yourself, that's the fact.
Yeah.
You receive the love that you give yourself, and so boost that, and your life will change forever. The truth is that I didn't mention this before, but it took me 2 years to listen to Caroline's idea about the masculine and feminine balance. And once I did that, I met my soulmate within weeks. That was also practicing self-love techniques, but that's same.
Yeah, and it wasn't until I started practicing that I met the man I consider my soulmate, you know, and we have 5 children, blended family. So the things we're talking about here is something you have to... I'm applying it in the best way that I can. I'm not sitting here flitting off from appointment to appointment going, oh, just be in your feminine, you know. I'm having to make the time to put these practices in place because I'm freaking busy.
We've done our apprenticeships, that's for sure. We have staffed up.
Yeah.
And
learn the hard way. So I think and that kind of brings us into that libido and sex, and I think that, you know, as women,